Hurricane Kate is top priority tonight for the people in charge of making sure we're all ready for the storm. News Center 7's Marianne Murciano is standing by live at the Dade Emergency Operations Center with a look at what officials there are doing to prepare for Kate. Marianne.
Peter, officials here are ordering evacuation only for mobile home parks in Dade, but they're recommending that if you're old, frail, handicapped, or need special care and you live in Key Biscayne or east of Collins Avenue, that you also voluntarily evacuate. Here's a list of shelters that opened at 6. Officials say if you're going to a shelter, make sure you take blankets, pillows, food, and medicine, and definitely no pets. Also, if you need transportation to a shelter, here's a list of 8 pickup points in Miami Beach and Key Biscayne. Those are the latest warnings from here. But early today, people began to prepare for the worst. In just 6 hours, the flag at the Emergency Operations Center has been changed twice. Forecasters upgraded conditions for southeast Florida to a hurricane watch and then to a hurricane warning. All day, those most affected by strong winds, boat owners, heeded the warnings. At about noon, the Miami River flotilla began, with thousands of boats starting to make their way to safe harbor. At the marinas, where the smaller vessels had already started to rock, boat owners were wasting no time.
Once the warning gets here, there'll be a lot of mad rushes trying to find a place first. First one that gets there gets the spots.
The danger would be being shoved into other boats or pushed into other boats breaking loose and coming over us or going into the pier. A lot of different things could happen. We don't really know.
But in spite of the warnings against strong winds, surfers and beachgoers were living it up while the waves were good. Meanwhile, local, state, and federal officials are having continuous strategy meetings at the Emergency Operations Center. Their advice, stay tuned to the news.
Let's hope everyone has listened to Neil Frank and everyone else all hurricane season, and they have their kitchen cabinet full of canned goods, and they have a few gallons of bottled water, and they're ready to do without electricity for 3 or 4 days.
Officials are asking anyone who has any question to please call 596-8735. They want people to stay off the 911 emergency number unless it's a life-threatening situation. Sally?
Thanks, Marianne. That's News Center 7's Marianne Murciano reporting live at the Dade Emergency Operations Center in southwest Dade.
As meteorologist Bob Sober showed us earlier, the Keys are the most likely target for Hurricane Kate sometime tomorrow. News Center 7's Brian Cabell is standing by live now with our News Star 7 satellite in Key West. Brian, how does it look there? I think we just lost sound of Brian, but we'll come back to Brian. He's at Key West. We do have a video link, as you saw. We have lost sound. We'll try and get back to Brian as soon as possible. With News Center 7's Don Dare is standing live in Fort Lauderdale Beach right now. Don
Peter,
Dare, good to see you.
It's pretty windy up here at this hour. The gusts have been blowing up to about 50 miles an hour all day long, causing the surf to beat against the beach here along A1A Strip. However, the ocean is still about 25 feet from A1A. Gary, you okay? Okay. It's really getting bad. In fact, the rain started falling just a few minutes ago. You know, everyone, of course, is taking the effects of Hurricane Kate a little bit lightly, but a lot of those who live along the coastal areas are taking it very seriously, especially for one Fort Lauderdale man. His family has been caught in Kate's fury.
Come in, Turks and Caicos, come in.
Gene Schlander has been trying to reach the Turks and Caicos all day. The storm hit there late yesterday. He's worried about the safety of his wife and 3 children who live in the tiny Caribbean island.
They had winds of 80 to 120 miles an hour down there, and that's bad because it's very low. I told them to expect the worst and get out of the house. Just get up off the beach and go for high grounds.
Hundreds of boaters were getting out of Fort Lauderdale today and heading inland. The Intracoastal looked like a busy Sunday, not a lazy Monday. Business was twice as frantic at the Bahia Mars fueling dock, and sailors like Janet Simons were looking for safe harbor.
A place that's wide enough so that you can put 2 or 3 anchors out and not have to worry about running into other boats.
When do you hope to get there?
Before dark.
Afternoon excursions at the Jungle Queen were canceled. The last ship sailed at 2 p.m., but it was a short trip.
Out in the ocean is fairly rough. You got probably 8 to 12 or better, and worse out in the Gulf Stream.
Along the beachfront, people were making preparations for high winds. Storm shutters that have been packed away in a back room all season were carefully nailed down. No one is taking Kate lightly.
We anticipate perhaps some possible evacuation efforts tonight, maybe, so people should be really ready to move on a short notice. We're watching it very carefully.
And they are watching it very carefully. The emergency evacuation plan has gone into effect. Shelters open tonight beginning at 8 o'clock. We're told that all the drawbridges in the area will be closed beginning at 7:30 tonight. Many people I talked with today said they don't want to be caught off guard by Hurricane Kate, especially like the people were several weeks ago when Hurricane Juan caught the entire Gulf Coast region unprepared. People here want to be prepared. Sally?
Don, you mentioned earlier you were having some trouble. Are you having trouble standing with the wind there?
Yeah, I was concerned about Gary, the photographer, because we had been standing one way, and then, of course, when we turned a little bit, the wind caught Gary and that big camera and blew him around, but he's okay.
Well, that's good news. Thank you, Don. News Center 7's Don Dare reporting live from Fort Lauderdale Beach. We are also efforting to get a live shot in from Key West and Brian Cabell, but the high winds there are giving us trouble, and we'll try to get one on the air in just a few minutes. All day long, News Center 7's Health and Science reporter Dr. John Miller has been at the center monitoring the activity there, and he's standing there now live with a report. John?
Sally, all day long here it's been a constant hustle-bustle. Dr. Neil Frank, whom you've already seen, has put on his usual fabulous show. He spends half of his time figuring out where the storm's going to go next, the other half of his time talking to every single reporter on the East Coast who wants to talk to him. Now, this storm, it's caught lots of people off guard, and you might have thought, coming so late in the season, that it could have caught the staff here off guard, too. But that's not the case.
They use 8.
The Hurricane Center staff has been monitoring Kate all weekend long.
Go 1-5, Miami. Go ahead 1-5, over.
This Air Force sergeant is talking to an Air Force C-130 aircraft patrolling 500 miles to the east. The plane fixes the storm's position every 3 hours.
The information includes temperature inside the eye, pressure readings, wind readings, and when you take several fixes and put them back to back, you can get a movement of the storm, and you can also get an idea on the intensity changes.
Is that a satellite report?
In the next room, a ham radio operator is receiving reports from other hams all across the Caribbean.
Had any damage reports yet?
A lot of power lines down, a lot of trees down, no loss of life reported, no major damage.
That is consistent with...
And down the hall, they're holding a national conference on, you guessed it, hurricanes. It would be ironic if they had to break up early because of this hurricane. Let me put some perspective on what's going on here. If this hurricane strikes Florida, it will be the 8th time this season that a named hurricane has struck the United States. And it'll be the first time since 1916 that that's happened. So lots and lots of hurricanes this fall. However, ironically, with all those hurricanes, this is the very first time today that Southeast Florida has had a hurricane warning. Everywhere from Maine all the way down to Texas, every single stretch of shoreline has had a hurricane warning, except us, until today.
This is so late in the season for a hurricane, John. Any clue as to why all this is happening now?
Frankly, there's no clue as to why any of this is happening, why this is a big year, why this hurricane's coming late in the season. We just don't know that much about hurricanes, to tell you the awful truth.
All right, thank you, John. News Center 7's Dr. John Miller reporting live from the National Hurricane Center.
Well, as Bob Soper showed us earlier, by about midday tomorrow, the Keys will be the most likely target for Hurricane Kate.
News Center 7's Brian Cabell is in Key West. We've been having some problems getting a live shot in there because of high winds, so let's check in with Brian right now. We have the live shot and find out what's going on. Brian?
Sally, it's the same old story here in Key West. We have been issued a hurricane warning, and nobody seems to be paying much attention to it. An evacuation has been strongly suggested for those not having any compelling business here on the island. We haven't seen much in the way of evacuation so far. Most people are treating this as just another normal autumn day. The tourists were still flocking to Old Town. A few of them questioned us about Hurricane Kate, but it seemed too far away, and the weather seemed much too nice, 85 degrees, mostly sunny skies to worry anyone. The sunbathers were out, mostly locals. For them, the warning was routine. The winds occasionally gusted to 25 miles per hour. The tide was up slightly, but still it was almost an ideal day for the beach. Boat owners, especially houseboat owners, have been warned to secure their craft, but again, little activity. No one seems overly concerned. Now, a couple hours ago, we were monitoring Cuban radio. We understand there have been evacuations there. One town of 17,000 has been totally evacuated, but nothing here. Apparently, we have to wait until the hurricane is about to hit this island. Then we will have that massive and much feared traffic jam on Highway 1 heading north. Interesting sidelight to all of this, there is a mayor's election scheduled for tomorrow. We understand that has now been postponed because of the imminent hurricane. Sally and Peter?
Thank you, Brian. News Center 7's Brian Cabell reporting live by News Star 7 satellite from Key West.
Understand they are not doing much evacuation.